Shabbat Shalom. Call Hawaii. How about Shemi Hoshai? Bahashim Akodash. Double honors to the other apostles and other bishops of GMS, even the elders that came before them, taught us the truth. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to all the brothers that push the word of truth and the sincerity, the hopeful elect. The Aquath that are listening and learning, being a pillar of rest, the 144,000 and 1/3, the hopeful elect of Israel. And the brother Yashawan back with the World War III Daily Update. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to you all. Today is War and Rumors of War Tuesday, where we read Matthew 24:6 in the KJV. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of war. We get that famous little, wars and rumors of war, that phrase. Right? See that you be not trouble, for all these things come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, now we go in. Got wars and rumors of wars. Here we have wars and threats of wars. Down here we have news of battles far away. And we have here reports. So reports, news, battles, and threats. Let's check them out. Massive escalation sounds like a threat to me. By Iran, floors Israel and trembles. Check this out, my homeboy Kerno, Damo. 14 minutes ago, take it away. Right.
Right, so who's scary enough to put the frighteners up Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump all at the same time then? Well, it can only be Iran, can't it? The boogeyman of the Middle East, as the West like to paint them. The head of the Axis, the string pullers of all the other designated terror organisations in the region, apart from the ones the West allies itself with and seek to rehabilitate, because they're always an exception, aren't they? The ones we like, well, they're fine, aren't they? Such as the new government of Syria, for example, Islamic State and Al-Qaeda leftovers as they ostensibly are. Well, to be honest, I think Iran secretly enjoys worrying the West on such things. To be honest, I think in a lot of ways the two sides have a lot in common. And to back that assertion up, we've had two Iranian actions revealed in the last few days, the last week, that are both things the West has either attempted or does on a regular basis itself anyway. But perhaps by way of worrying Netanyahu and Trump particularly, Iran have simply proven they're maybe better at this than the West is. Right, so what is the crack this time then, Damo? What have Iran been up to now? Well, worrying the West like the proverbial dog in the paddock full of sheep, and they've done so both in plain sight and behind closed doors, in actions that will put the winners up both Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, because they've been outplayed and possibly are outgunned here too. For all the rhetoric surrounding a potential strike on Iran, as Netanyahu would love the West to do, that he figures Trump might just be mad enough to actually go for, what has come out this week ought to make both men perhaps pause for thought, not just on the armaments front, it never actually being totally clear what Iran have by weight in its arsenal, but via subterfuge as well, espionage, as it turns out that Iran has successfully infiltrated the Israeli Defense Forces. And this reminds me of the total failure of Israel's attempt to infiltrate the Houthis a few weeks ago that I spoke about, caught out within days as they were. Yet the same could not be said of the IDF. Now, given how desperate they have been for new recruits in the IDF, regular viewers of this channel will have heard me talk about the shortages the IDF has in its ranks, the fact they have been, for example, paying out big money to recruit mercenaries to sign up, paying them double even what the average IDF soldier gets, and trying to change the law to force the exempt Haredi Jewish population of Israel to have to do national service as well, to sign up too. An exemption that was laid down as a foundation stone of the state of Israel itself, I might add. So perhaps it's no surprise Iran were able to infiltrate and gain the aid of poorly paid IDF soldiers prepared to aid the enemy, so to speak, for money. The value of the Israeli shekel having yo-yoed throughout the atrocities being performed since October 7th by the genocidal apartheid blue and white state. The capture of two Israelis this week having been caught passing sensitive information to Iranian handlers is actually the second time such an event has been exposed, with 7 Israelis having been detained last October and charged with spying for Iran. And in what is an even bigger indictment, I think, of how bad Israel are at detecting spies within their midst, these 7 are accused of having carried out some 600 espionage missions for Iran, and some of these recruits having allegedly been spying for Iran within the IDF for around 2 years before they were caught. So all of that predates October 7th itself, an indictment of the treatment of the soldiers in the IDF, well before Israel started struggling with recruitment as a result of said atrocities being committed in Gaza. So it does speak to the morale amongst the IDF. And I wonder if the fact that all Israelis are forced to do national service adds to that. Many not wanting to do military service, doing so reluctantly. They've got no heart in it, so to speak. Yuri Bar-Joseph, a professor of international relations at the University of Haifa, has stated that he considers there to be three main motivators with Iran recruiting spies within Israel, those being ideology, money, and pressure. Now, there's no shared ideology, and there's certainly no direct pressure by Iran within Israel. Therefore, it makes sense that Iran only need to flash cash to entice people in. People who may be in more and more financial difficulty as Israel overstretches itself, its economy tanks, its currency value depreciates the more they are making war on others, and even more so when soldiers see all manner of malcontents being paid to join their ranks and getting paid more than they are. And indeed, as this excerpt from the Cradle shows, that very much appears to be the case with the two spies that have been caught now. One of the detained soldiers served at an Iron Dome battery and documented classified materials at Iranian handlers' requests, Israeli newspaper Israel Hayom reported on the 27th of January. The other served at the Kiryat base in Tel Aviv, where the Army and Defense Ministry headquarters are located. Both told interrogators that they were struggling financially, and for that reason accepted an Iranian offer. They are reportedly set to be indicted. The spy operation took place in September and October of last year as Israel was at war with Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. One of the suspects faces a potential life sentence for providing information to Iran during wartime. They were initially requested to spray pro-Iran graffiti in certain areas. One of the soldiers withdrew from the operation when he realized he could face legal repercussions for espionage. The other soldier, who was stationed at an Iron Dome battery, continued to provide his handlers with information and recorded a video detailing the operation of the missile defense system. Israeli army experts who reviewed the video determined that its contents could benefit Israel's adversaries. Yes, one of them even worked at an Iron Dome battery, the best-known Israeli air defense system, and in a way, this should hearten Israel a bit, since clearly Iran don't have the complete measure of these defenses, as was surmised to be the real motivation behind their suspiciously easily repelled attack in what they called Operation True Promise 1, following the strike by Israel on the Iranian embassy in Damascus last year. What won't hearten Israel so much is that their secrets were bought via their man in the Iron Dome battery for just $2,500. But where Israel may be reeling somewhat from more spies in their midst, and probably ought to be asking, well, how many more are there, and how the heck can we find them when we're low on numbers now, and we really can't spare more IDF personnel to try and fund any more than we might have, Iran have been far more overt in their showing off militarily, shall we call it. And this perhaps will give Trump more pause for thought, because Iran have unveiled weaponry in recent war games, and we know how much the West loves taking part in war games, don't we, to show off their military might. And it's what I mean by Iran and the West being perhaps more similar than either would care to admit sometimes, in that Iran have now engaged in some war games of their own. But what they've unveiled is far beyond what the West thought Iran had in their arsenal, and has really gone to show that what they've fired so far towards Israel, or shown off, the effects they've had, haven't shown the West anything at all that they've really got under the covers. But now Trump is president again. He's a little bit madder than Biden, maybe. Perhaps Iran felt the need to have a bit of a flex. So to that end, Iran, during drills it was carrying out in its southern waters, unveiled a couple of drones called the Mohajer 6 and the Ababil 5. But it's not the drones themselves that have got the West all hot and bothered, but the missiles they were carrying. Never before seen versions of the Qaem and Almas missile, which have been developed inside Iran, but more crucially than that, are both now claimed to be augmented with AI technology.
Claimed to be. Rumor, threat, news, report. Rumor, threat, news, report. Rumor, threat, news, reports. With that. We hope that the electorate edified you brothers and few sisters. Yeah, Iran got a whole lot you don't know about. So it's just not, you know, there's two sides to every story. Just because you only hear the West Side story. Shabbat Shalom.